Good Sunday afternoon, and today we are going to be starting with this beautiful sweet potato right here. That's right. We're going to take this sweet potato, and just like any other potato, we're going to make sure that we get it clean, we're going to get it washed, and then we're going to peel the crap out of this thing. So, you want to make sure that your sweet potato is clean. You want to make sure that there's no blemishes. You want to make sure there's no roots. You want to make sure that there's really nothing wrong with it and it doesn't smell funny. All right, so once we get this sweet potato nice, rinsed off, clean, it's washed, we're going to bring it back over and we're going to place it down onto our cutting board here. We're going to take a potato peeler and we're basically just going to peel the potato. Now, you're going to peel it any way that you want. Peel it just like you would a regular russet potato or a gold potato. And you want to make sure that you get all the skin off. Okay, you don't want to eat the skin for what we're doing with this potato here. So once we have it completely peeled, okay, and you see there's no other skin left on the potato peel or on the potato, we're now going to clean up all of our peels. Now in a restaurant, what typically happens in a professional kitchen is you have two bowls. You have one bowl for your products. Well, actually, correction, there's three bowls. One for the product to be peeled, one for the product after it's already been peeled, and then one for the product's peelings or shavings themselves. That way you can kind of keep your counter space neat, organized, and clean. But this is my own personal kitchen, not a restaurant, so I just peel right onto my cutting board. So once we go ahead and we get all the scoops and shavings and things like that cleaned up, we're next going to take the sweet potato and we are going to cut it down. Now we want to dice this up into rather large cubes. Now if you've never cut a sweet potato, they're not exactly easy. They are a little on the rough side. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of issue just sawing my way through, and I have to resort to a double-handed pushing the knife down type method. It's not preferred, it's not what I like to do, but it's what I had to do in order to cut my sweet potato. So once you have your sweet potato cut, what we're looking for is anywhere between 1/2 inch to 1 inch width on your potato. It's really going to be dependent upon you and how big of a potato you want to eat. And we're not even going to use the whole potato. So next we're then going to cut the potato into cubes. And again, this is where you can pick the size cube that you want. I'm going for anywhere between 1/2 inch to 1 inch cubes. And we're going to place them into a bowl. You can't see my bowl. It's off screen. It's off to the side. But don't worry, you'll see it here in a minute. And that's really all that we're going to do for right now is cut up the sweet potato until we have nice, fairly equal size cubes. There's no need to take out a tape measure. You can eyeball this maneuver here. So once we have them into the bowl, the neat thing about this dish is its simplicity. There's really not a whole lot of ingredients with this dish. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some kosher salt. This is all based on flavor, so you can add as little or as much as you want. So once we have some kosher salt in there, we're going to put in some freshly ground black pepper. Always use freshly ground black pepper in your recipes. You can use the stuff out of the can, but that's not fresh. And then we are going to add in our honey. Now this is 100% pure honey. There's no additives. It's straight from the bee itself. It's really good honey. Fun fact about honey, there's no expiration date. You can still eat honey that has been found in Egypt, you know, that the Egyptians stored, you know, a millennium ago. You can still eat it. Next, we're going to take a spatula, a preferably non-stick spatula, and we're just going to go ahead and stir this up, get this all mixed around. And you just want to make sure that all or every square millimeter of each cube of sweet potato is covered with the salt, the pepper, and the honey. So once you have that nicely mixed, good, stirred around, we're good to go. Next, we're going to take a baking sheet. Now, you can use a baking sheet, you can use a cookie sheet, you can use really anything. I mean, it's going to go in the oven, all right? And we're going to line this up with parchment paper. Okay, so once we have it lined with a nice piece of parchment paper, all we need to do is pour the sweet potato onto the parchment paper, get it spread out, give the potatoes a little bit of breathing room, And this will go into the oven for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes. You want to take it out about 20 minutes in, about halfway through, 25 minutes halfway through, and you just want to go ahead and stir it and flip. So the oven's preset to 400 degrees, and we're going to put those into the oven, like I said, 45 to 50 minutes. Next, we're going to work on this beautiful piece of Atlantic salmon. So we're going to check it with bones. We're going to check for bones. All right, you don't want to eat bones in your salmon. And you can trim up the salmon any way that you want. I'm going to cut off a fairly large piece of thin salmon. I don't really want to eat that thin part. You can find another use for it. I don't really have a use for it, so it just kind of like went off to the side. I'm sure I'll find a use for it later. So salmon is one of the easiest things you can possibly cook. It's an amazing cut of fish. It really is a salmon fillet, or fillet if you want to be that pompous. All right, so all you really need to get this salmon ready to go is a little bit of salt, a little bit of pepper, and a little bit of olive oil. You don't need to go crazy with the seasonings. So what we're going to do is we're going to start on the skin side. Now the skin side has no scales. I get it from the store without any scales on it. You can find it at the store with scales on it. Just keep in mind that if there's scales on it, you want to break the scales off, and you can use the butt end of your knife to do that. So all I'm doing is putting in a pinch of salt and some freshly ground pepper on the skin side. We're going to roll this around to the meat side, and we're going to repeat that process. We're going to put a little bit of salt. I don't like a whole lot of salt on my salmon, so I don't really typically like douse it in salt. I have seen where people have done that. And then we're going to go with the freshly ground pepper. And then that's pretty much it, outside of a small light drizzle of olive oil, which you'll see me do right here. And that's really it. You don't need a whole ton. You don't need a whole lot. You don't need to go crazy. It's salmon. The greatest thing about using so few ingredients is that you're going to get the most flavor out of your salmon. So today we're going to be using my favorite cast iron skillet. We have medium heat. I have a little bit of olive oil. It's probably about 1.5 tablespoons to 2 tablespoons of olive oil in the bottom of the pan. And I have my Superflex fishy spatula here. And what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the iron skillet is up to heat. Now, iron skillets can build up heat and they can retain heat for a good hot minute. So when you're using an iron skillet, whether it's on a stove or open flame, you really want to be careful. Wear an oven mitt or something to hold the handle so that you don't burn yourself. You can use a rag, you can use an oven mitt, just as long as you don't burn yourself, okay? Now next up, we're going to place the salmon skin side down into the skillet. Now, the best way to identify if your skillet's at the temperature you need: 1, you can look for tiny little wisps of smoke. 2, you can drop in a little bit of water. Or 3, if you've been cooking on an iron skillet for as little while as I have, when you go to place your protein product in the skillet, you can listen for the sizzle, and you can hear it right here in this video right about now. So as it goes into the pan, you can hear a little bit of sizzle. That's good. Once you put your protein, your fish, whether it's, your protein, whether it's fish, beef, chicken, anything really, into the iron skillet, just leave it there. Don't move it. You don't have to move it around. So as the salmon cooks, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of butter. And we are going to take 2 cloves of garlic. We're going to cut them in half, and we're going to drop those in there as well. And all we're doing really is we are building up a nice flavor profile in the bottom of the pan to try to basically bring out a little bit more flavor into the salmon. Now, if you notice, you can see there's a color difference in the salmon already. The bottom side is turning a light brown. Light brownish pink color, and the top side is still raw fish. That's actually pretty good. It's actually almost time to flip it over. So Once you can see the temperature or the coloration change and it goes up halfway, that's your marking point for when you want to flip the fish over. So now that we have it flipped over, we can see the skin side. We're going to add 3 more tablespoons of butter. We're going to grab a spoon and we are going to begin to baste the fish. So basting is a very simple process. You tilt the pan towards you with the juices towards the bottom. You take a spoon and you basically spoon the liquid over your protein. Okay, and really what you're doing is you're keeping the top side cooked. You're also spreading out a little bit of a flavor. And it helps cook the fish, protein, whatever you got in here. It helps cook it a little bit more evenly. Not to mention you're getting that butter and that garlic flipped around onto the fish itself. So once you have a good baste on one side, we're going to go ahead and flip this over to the presentation side. Skin side is not the presentation side. As you can see here, I'm pointing out that there is more, basically the 2 colors have met. Okay, so yeah, the 2 colors have met. So now we're going to go ahead and flip it back over to the presentation side. And as you can see, we have a beautiful golden sear across the top, which is exactly what we want. Now the fish at this stage is not 100% cooked. It's still well, it's not cooked really to my liking. Okay, I like my fish, my salmon, to be cooked about medium to medium well. Some like a little bit less than that. Me personally, I like it about medium well. And for those of you kind of curious, I started cooking this salmon when I had about 8 or 9 minutes left on the sweet potatoes in the oven. And that's really how long it took me to cook my salmon. So all I'm doing is I'm continuing to baste and put a lot more flavor on the top. And then once we have it done, the sweet potatoes are about 30 seconds from coming out. We can pull it up, let it rest a little bit on the spatula and see that we have really good color. And then it's time to begin to plate up. So here I have my favorite plate. It's my white plate. We're going to go ahead and place the salmon onto the plate. And then we will place the sweet potatoes on there. Just kind of, you know, put them on there a little bit. Any way that you want. You put them on the side. You can put them on top of the salmon. It doesn't really matter. Once we have our potatoes onto the plate here, the next thing that we're going to add is some finely diced parsley. Sorry, it's Sunday and it's early. So we're going to sprinkle a little bit of parsley on top. Parsley is a great complement for the salmon. Next, we're going to add 2 slices of lemon. Again, lemon is another great complement to the salmon. It actually brings out a lot more flavors. Like I said, it's a very simple dish. And then finally, we will add a half a lemon, a juice of half of a lemon. And we're just going to sprinkle that on top, drizzle that down, let it soak in there. It's going to bring out a lot of good flavor. And once we're done, we're going to clean up the plate a little bit because we don't want a huge mess on the plate before we tear into it. And there we have our beautiful slammin' salmon dish. We have sweet potatoes, honey roasted sweet potatoes with the salmon and 2 slices of lemon. So if you like this video, please hit that like, hit that subscribe, leave a comment below, maybe even leave a suggestion. Stay tuned next week. I add videos at least once a week. So I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope to see you next week.